One of the worst crimes we have to deal with as men is having our sexuality damaged at birth on purpose by our parents, right? And this gentleman here is going to give a very limp-wristed push against it, which doesn't work. And before we get into it, I want you to realize, oh, by the way, thank you, Cosmic, for bringing this to my attention. I want you guys to realize that in my country of Canada, the province of Quebec outlawed ear clipping for dogs, right? Quebec has officially banned ear cropping and tail docking for dogs, considering them to be cosmetic procedures with no health benefits. This decision aims to protect the welfare of animals and prevent unnecessary suffering, right? I want you to think about that. So people know what this is about, and they place an animal far above a baby child, boy, right? And this is what you guys have to understand is that if you classify yourself as gender neutral, like you're a Nicaraguan or you're a Protestant or anything, people will understand your outrage. But as soon as you identify as male, not only are they indifferent, many people are endorsing this kind of harm to you, right? So let's get into it.
Friend of Lizzie's, and I do biophysics research at Georgetown University, and I also coordinate two nonprofits that deal mostly with supporting families and supporting people in their relationships.
Supporting people in their relationships. Okay, so this guy is a waste of time, right? Dude, you have one of two choices. You can either placate women or you can protect baby boys, but you can't do both, right?
Here's my family. Um, so my mission in life basically is to help people get along, and towards that end I do a lot of workshops with families, and I also help families understand medical questions.
Really? Really? Okay. So again, you're going to try and placate to the wife, right? And if she wants your baby boy damaged, that's what Cunningham does. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to reconcile this? Right.
So I'm here to talk with you about circumcision. I'm calling it the elephant in the hospital because it's this huge thing that happens as far as I see it in our culture, but we have very little discourse about it. It's performed.
We have all kinds of discourse about it, buddy. People simply shut the discourse down or even attack the guys who try and bring it up. The only reason you get to talk about it is you do it in the most limp-wristed way as possible and make sure you don't blame anybody.
Between 500,000 and 1,000,000 times each year in the U.S., almost entirely on infants within the first 3 days.
Don't use gender neutral terms. It's not infants, baby boy infants. And you're going to admit that. See, this is part of the spiel, guys. Make it gender neutral. See, here's this terrible thing that's happening to all children, and that's why should be considered doing something about it. Because all children includes girl children.
Of life, and it's completely unnecessary, and I believe, based on my research, entirely harmful to children.
Thank you for admitting that it's harmful to boys. Say it. It's not happening to girls. This guy's going to admit it.
So what we're going to run through as quickly as I can is just a discussion of like what that process is like from the child's point of view, what effects it has on adult survivors, how we get parents to...
The child's point of view? What do you mean? Like, you can't ask an infant what's going on. You could see it screaming its head off as it's being butchered without anesthetic. Are you talking about when they grow up and you question them then?
To agree to it, what understanding parents have, and how we get practitioners to be performing it. So before we do that, I actually want to get a chance of
This is important. This is this is something that you guys need to say.
what our room is like, and so we can see each other. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to use this this technology here for room assessment that goes back before clickers. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you're willing, is to point in a direction as I ask you about each thing from beneficial. So this wall is like the beneficial wall, neutral is the ceiling, and harmful is the wall over there. So, for example, what do you think of foot binding? I mean, you're an anthropologist. Most people have probably heard of foot binding. Where do you think it goes in the... Okay, we have...
The all against foot binding. Foot binding, by the way, is something that women do to themselves. So they're to blame. So I agree it's bad, but that's bad female behavior, right? It's like women getting all this unnecessary surgery, facial surgery. They damage their faces. No man did ask for that. Okay? So foot binding is 100% put on women.
Everyone who chose to respond says that they think it's harmful. Great. I'm pleased with that response. Female genital cutting. How many people have heard of that? Okay, great. We've got...
Great, 100%. See, damaging little girls, that's bad, right?
Universally harmful. Okay, what about, say we were to do prophylactic breast bud removal. Say we wanted to stop breast cancer, save hundreds of thousands of women's lives per year, and we just cut all babies' breast buds off. Beneficial, harmful, neutral. Okay,
That's it.
some neutral and some harmful.
There you go. But no one says it's good. No one says it's beneficial. Right. He caught them off guard with that. They never thought about that. So they didn't know how to respond. Right. But it's very prescient when it comes to this topic, right? You could make that argument for both genders, right? There's certain things we could do to prevent some possible damage in the future.
Okay. And what about cutting off non-essential tissue from a child? Say we just cut off all kids' earlobes because we thought they were inconvenient to clean or looked ugly. Okay, we've got harmful. Okay, so what about circumcision?
You see, no, that's what I'm talking about. If it's gender neutral, again, if it's earlobes, which everyone has, it's sexless, right? Then it's bad, right? Earlobes, right? Just like these dogs, right? It's bad, it's recognized. But when it comes to male genitalia, once the member is male in sexuality, now it's the complete opposite. It's not just indifference, they want it damaged.
Circumcision. What's our starting points? We've got every response. That's great. Okay, so we have a diverse audience.
Hold on, we'll back that up.
We're inconvenient to clean or looked ugly. Okay, we've got harmful. Okay, so what about circumcision? What's our starting points? We've got every response. That's great. Okay, so we have a diverse audience.
Why is it great? So notice it's great when everyone recognizes that female mutilation is harmful, but it's also great when it's diverse, when boys are being harmed. You see, this guy is a cretin, right? You, dude, are part of the problem. You have just as much as indifference to boys suffering as any other person. And you're going to stand up for them with your stupid smile?
Now, a couple other questions, just to see who we are. Who here thinks that they have a foreskin? Anyone? Who here believes that they have a foreskin? This is that part that they removed during a circumcision, right? Okay, so that's a trick question. Men and women, males and females, are both born with foreskins. The foreskin is just a name.
It's not a trick question, dude. Because people think foreskin, they think it's the guys, and they know that's what you're saying, right?
For a part of the clitoris or penis. And so probably most of the women here still have one, and perhaps some of the males also. Who comes from a culture where female genital cutting is a social norm? No one, okay. Who comes from a culture where male genital cutting is a social norm? Okay, all of us, pretty much, that I can see.
Right. So the harm to girls is 0. The harm to guys is 100%. Right.
Okay. And And who knows someone who was generally altered as a child? It could be you, it could be a friend, it could be your parent, your child, most of us. Okay, great. So all that is just to illustrate how it's something that's touched all of our lives in some way. Now, so I'm arguing that it's this big thing and that we don't talk about it a lot. So I have to.
Again, it's the elephant in the room, but actually it does get talked about. It's just swept under the rug, right? Or fought against. Dude, you do realize there are the bloodstained men, right? Who go out and protest this. So people are at best ignoring it, but I've seen people attack those guys or verbally abuse them at least, right? So this is not a problem of people being ignorant or merely ignoring the situation. They are proactively harming these boys.
To sort of explain why I think that. So I believe the discourse that we have in our culture about circumcision is one that's used to conceal what the nature of the process is. So you may have heard things like, well,
Yeah, because people don't want to believe that their evil is evil. They don't want to believe they're bad people. So when parents damage their son's sexuality, they want to say, well, let's put this in a good light as possible.
It makes the penis cleaner or something like that. You may have heard things like, everyone does it, I'm circumcised and I'm fine. It's just
that last one is the worst. I'm circumcised, I'm fine. It's accepting your victimhood. It's guys knowing in their heart of heart that their victimhood will be used against them. So he says, I'm fine. Please don't exile me out of society by me showing that I'm a victim of a crime.
Just a little snip, or it removes a useless flap of skin, this sort of trivializing language. We have heard all these things. What I'm asking you to do right now is
babies don't feel pain, remember? Of course they feel pain. What do you think their screaming and crying is about? So that's an outright lie. That's not ignorant. And don't remember, that's an important one because someone brought up something that was very true, a very present point. That, the date rape drug, right? Woman gets drugged and raped while she's unconscious, right? Do the women come out and say, whoa, well, I don't care because I don't remember it. I never suffered any pain while I was unconscious. They never say that. They say it's a crime. They get upset and they want retribution. And that's why any grown man who's had this done when he was a helpless baby should want retribution as well.
to set all that aside, all that massive experience in your minds, and to try and come at it from a fresh angle.
Here's the other one. I can't imagine how it could be harmful. Really, then, how come you outlawed it for girls then? And how come you people are willing to outlaw it for dogs? You guys can imagine just perfectly. You want it to happen.
Where these sort of illogical arguments or support for it are not part of where you're thinking. I'm going to propose that circumcision is this cyclical process in our culture where we do it to children, they grow up, they become adult survivors, some of those people become parents, and they engage.
He's wrong. It's not cyclical. Right? This is linear. People don't like men, even when they're babies, and they go out of their way to harm them. It's a perfect example of A to B. I don't like you. I want to harm you. Perfectly linear.
And practitioners engage them in order to perform this surgery on their children, which, unlike any other surgery I'm aware of in U.S. hospitals, it removes a healthy, unique organ part, actually with the exception of intersex genital modification, which it bears.
Stop with the virtue signaling, you weakling.
A lot of resemblance to in my mind. It removes a healthy part of the body. It's not used as a treatment. Doctors don't think they're treating the children. They know that it's a social surgery they're performing.
They know they're harming boys. Go all the way. You even mentioned it earlier. They know they're harming them. They want to.
It has significant complications. It's performed on minors who can't give consent. It's illegal. It's actually a federal felony to perform it on girls, but it's actually encouraged to perform on boys.
Exactly. It's not just ignored, it's encouraged. Right. So that shows a conscious effort on people's parts, on the very parents of these children.
It results in lifelong function loss, and the tissue is then used commercially.
The tissue is used commercially. You know something, how they show just how evil the Nazis were? They would say, hey, we found lampshades made of skin. That was an example of the ultimate of evil. Yet here, the same evil is happening to little baby boys. The tissues are being removed and it's being used commercially. Right. Hard to spin that as a good thing. It's not considered evil, is it?
So, just a little context.
We don't need to go through this. I don't care where it is in the world. The point is, it's happening here, and that's what's important. Okay? How did we get here? Here's it. 1860s to 70s masturbation. That was what it is. All the rest doesn't matter. Everything else was made up. They want to make sure that boys got no pleasure as men. Why? Because they hate male sexuality. That's why they didn't, that's why it's outlawed against girls, right? Amongst other reasons, people love female sexuality. They love the idea of a woman rubbing one out, right? So we can get past that. Let's see. I'm going to get past all the him showing pictures of poor kids getting wounded. People don't care. If I showed this, all it would do is frighten people away, right? They don't want to see pictures of dicks. Now, circumcision and the parent. This is important. The parents are to blame. No one else. No one can convince parents to cut their baby girls. So they are the ones to blame. I'm not blaming the medical institutions.
Like I said, I've talked with hundreds of parents also, especially doing all this work that I do with parents. I've talked with many who, when they receive their child back, that's the moment at which they understand what they had signed up for. And so there's a problem with...
They understood what they signed up for, dude. Because these doctors couldn't offer the same thing for the girls, right? As soon as they offered it for the girls, they'd say, that's evil. So they understand perfectly.
Informed consent.
This is an example of an olive branch, right? I know you're doing evil and I'm too milksop to call you out. So let me beg you to understand how bad it is.
Both that the information is lacking and that parents are sometimes asked about it at an inconvenient moment, like such as when they're in labor, you know. And they're also asked about it in this
don't make excuses.
Values neutral way. It's like, you know, would you like a pillow? Would you like a cup of tea? Would you like your child circumcised? You know, it carries the same sort of tone.
They're all laughing, but the tone is, as you say, it's neutral, right? It's not pushing the parent to do anything.
You know, and I'm concerned about that. So I view us as having this sort of...
Well, you were concerned. Well, there's nothing milquetoast about that, is there?
Manufacturing pseudo-informed consent process where parents need to trust physicians. They're the people the physicians are supposedly the ones who are bringing in the discipline of medicine. And they come in.
No, passing this. We already explained this. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is want to show again. The lampshades made of skin. Look at this, guys. Oh, sorry. Get that back up.
3 things, right, that I've been able to find. We use it for research. So there are a large number of products you can buy from Invitrogen, which is actually a company I buy other things that don't contain force.
Magic skin treatment. Who do you think is going to be using that? Women, of course. So women damage their son's sexuality and then use these lampshades made of skin to try and keep their youth. youthful appearance out there. Cosmetics, it's the same thing. So helpless baby boys are being sacrificed for grown women. Thank you. Thank you, dude. Now let's get in. I'm going to show you this. This is important because this can be shown on a comedy.
Job well, you know. And if you're disturbed by that, I'm glad, because I would like us to be disturbed by it. So let's hear from an obstetrician how they frame these sort of things. This is Lisa Masterson being interviewed on the Craig Ferguson Late Late Show.
Yeah, and again, you know, but that's a personal choice. And I talk to my patients as an obstetrician.
But it's a personal choice for the baby, not the parents. So it's not a personal choice, lady. She's framing it wrong right from the beginning. It's a crime against the baby.
I talk to my patients a lot about this. And really, there's a lot of health benefits and some risk benefits, but it's really a social procedure. So you really have to decide, do you want your son to look like you? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a social thing? It's absolutely, and there's some health benefits more for
That's a lie, complete lie.
The lady than the man, but as far as
More so for the lady, for the man. Again, this is about harming a helpless child for the benefit of women.
decreasing STDs and
Maximum harm for a minimal of help.
passing on to, other women, HPV, which can cause
Again, passing it on to other women, right? Right. That's a lie. It doesn't work anyway. But again, her attitude is screw the male population.
cervical cancer, so decreasing STDs and cancers, all that good stuff.
But couldn't you achieve the same effect by washing your pee-pee on a regular basis?
You absolutely could. And
So we're talking, you can have this chopped off or you can wash it. Your call.
Exactly.
It's a tough choice there, Doctor.
Now, I know this Ferguson is about comedy, but for him to deliver it like this is pathetic, right? Because Ellen DeGeneres had this talk and she was not having it. She was not happy. She was, being a woman, she was absolutely against this kind of evil and criminality, right? Let's see if I can't find it for us here. So I want you to look at the expression on Ellen DeGeneres' face, right? And the same topic comes up.
Sarah. Sandra? Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
Who thinks of collecting it?
When you see how good it is to your face, you too will run to your local facialist.
No, I don't even understand why that is a thing that you'd put that into your skin.
Yeah, like she is totally disgusted. And this is the proper attitude. And this is how you change things, guys. This is how you respond to when people are committing crimes against children, right? And it doesn't work when you have these weaklings like Ferguson just making a joke out of it.
So obviously I appreciate.
Let's skim ahead. Like I said, I'm going to get past all that. Responses. Right.
Well, that argument is used to support both male and female genital cutting in every culture that I'm aware of.
Okay, let's back that up.
With this idea, they may say that it reduces penile cancer rates, that it reduces urinary tract infections, cervical cancer rates in female partners that your child might have when they grow up, and female to male HIV transmission rate reduction is sort of the newest reason. So as I showed you in the beginning, we have this sort of cultural baggage. We have lots of reasons that we used to do circumcisions that don't make sense in today's cultural setting. So we've had to come up with a posteriori reasons.
Thank you for admitting it. Exactly. They're making up reasons. But Sandra Bullock showed you what the reasons really were. That's what's going on. We know all this is lies, like reducing cancer. penile cancer, I took a look. I think it happens in 1 in 100,000 cases, right? So it's not it's not an excuse whatsoever, right? I don't know anyone personally that ever suffered it. I never even heard of someone who suffered it. So it's just an excuse. Let's see, anything else? Should we go any further? No, I'm not going to go any further, guys, because this guy is a limp wrist, was a weakling. He doesn't help anything. When these people leave, they're going to forget everything he said because they don't give a shit. If you want to make change, you have to shame people out of their criminality. You've got to shame them. That's how it's done. I mean, that's what degenerates did, right? She actually shamed Bullock, and Bullock really looked uncomfortable. So this woman is a hero to me, and this guy here is a loser. By the way, thank you, Cosmic, for showing this to me. I really appreciate it. Guys like you make me puke.